5 most brutal killers reacting to a death sentence. Number 5. Michael Brady. Michael Brady is the individual responsible for the murder of 4 prison workers at Pasquotank Correctional Institution in North Carolina as a result of his attempt to escape from the facility. He struck Jeffrey Howe 8 times until he ceased to move. I don't know how many times I hit him with a hammer. Brady faced a sentence of 24 years in prison for an attempted murder conviction, following his shooting at a state trooper in North Carolina. Brady and 3 other inmates brutally murdered 4 prison laborers with hammers and scissors 4 years into his sentence. That man, Michael Brady, beat that man, George, like he was trying to bust concrete. Brady attempted to cross a fence, but he was apprehended at gunpoint. It was akin to a bloodbath. I attempted to enter the elevator by slipping as I stepped between Wendy and Jeffrey, as the entire floor was covered in blood. Prosecutors contended that Brady was the one who orchestrated the assault and exhibited no remorse for the murders during the trial. We know who originated the plan. Brady testified at his sentencing after his conviction. I feel comfortable disclosing the truth. You are free to inquire about any topic. I will speak the truth, regardless of whether it causes me harm or benefits me. I am indifferent to that matter. You are insane if you do not accept my assertion. I do not believe that I am insane, and you are aware of the distinction between right and wrong. Yes, you know murder is wrong. Murder is a different name for death. But yes, your freedom meant more than their lives. Yes, the magistrate now reads the jury's recommendation. The jury unanimously recommends that the defendant be sentenced to death. Brady appears to be devoid of emotion, and the judge ultimately concurs with the execution. He is currently incarcerated in Colorado, where he is awaiting his death sentence. Number 4. Austin Myers. Austin Myers and Timothy Mosley are the individuals in question. In Waynesville, Ohio, they were both found guilty of the homicide of 18-year-old Justin Back. Myers and Mosley entered Back's residence to steal his father's safe. Back was strangled with a strangulation wire during the robbery. The purpose of strangling them in this manner was to prevent any potential mess. The task would be considerably simpler to manage. It was evident that Justin was making an effort to resist, but he was not able to overwhelm us. Justin Back was subsequently stabbed 21 times until his death. Justin was attempting to inquire as to why. He was imploring for his life and pleading, "Stop." Mosley testified against Myers during the trial to secure a plea bargain. He pleaded guilty and was subsequently sentenced to life in prison. Ultimately, Myers addressed the jury, imploring them to spare his life to prevent the death penalty for his family. "If you opt to end my life, it will only result in additional suffering and pain for another family, not for me. It will not cause me any discomfort. I will not experience any sensations. It will cause more harm to innocent individuals." This is the father of Justin Back, who is currently speaking. "I will not stand here and express my hatred for you. That is undeniable. It is my sincere desire that you envision my son, Justin, each time you close your eyes at night." This was Myers' final opportunity to advocate for his life in front of the judge after the jury recommended the death sentence. "I believe there are numerous positive things I can accomplish with my life, if you grant me the opportunity to continue." The judge rejected the argument and imposed the utmost penalty. The defendant fails to comprehend the value of life. Consequently, Austin Gregory Myers will be sentenced to death for the offense of aggravated homicide. At the age of 19, Myers became the youngest person in Ohio to be sentenced to death with only a slight inclination. He is presently located at Chillicothe Correctional Institution, where he is awaiting his execution. This has destroyed countless lives, and it was all for nothing. I mean, the safe was devoid of any money. In that location, there was nothing. They conducted this in exchange for virtually nothing. Number 3. Nico Jenkins. Nico Jenkins was convicted of 4 counts of murder after a 10-day killing rampage in Omaha, Nebraska. Jenkins was incarcerated for a decade for carjacking and assault after being transferred to a juvenile correctional facility at the age of 15. Jenkins committed a robbery that resulted in the shooting and death of 2 individuals 1 month following his release. 8 days later, his subsequent victim was a former inmate whom he had encountered during his time in prison. In his garage, he was fatally shot. Jenkins murdered his 4th victim in a carjacking 2 days later. Jenkins was apprehended on unrelated charges However, it was during this apprehension that law enforcement was able to attribute the ammunition used in one of the murders to Jenkins. Are you unaware that I have Nico Jenkins? I have you. Your DNA was obtained at the crime scene. I obtained your DNA from the vehicle. The weapon was acquired by me. Nico Jenkins was acquired by me. Jenkins entered a plea of not guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder. Additionally, he forfeited his right to a jury trial, which would have resulted in a 3-judge tribunal determining his guilt or innocence. Each of these murders was a deliberate and premeditated act. The homicides were intentional, and the victims were pre-selected. Jenkins remained seated with minimal movement after being convicted of all 4 homicides. The sentence that followed was, "Therefore, this panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant." Jenkins appeared entirely unperturbed as he was sentenced to death. He is presently incarcerated at the Nebraska State Penitentiary, where he is awaiting his death sentence. Number 2. Martez Abram. Martez Abram was found guilty of 2 counts of murder in connection with the murders of 2 Walmart employees in Southaven, Mississippi. Abram was employed at Walmart. However, he was suspended after presumably possessing a knife in the store. On the day of his suspension, he returned to the store with a variety of weapons and opened fire, murdering store managers Anthony Brown and Brandon Gales. Additionally, he fired at an officer who was able to survive as a result of his bulletproof vest. He was apprehended on the spot. Abram has now confessed to all of the crimes in court. Is that you on the surveillance footage? Yes. Mr. Gales is on the floor going down at this point, isn't he? Yes. And that's you shooting him, right? Yes. That's you shooting him, yes? Yes. Do you admit that you shot him? Yes. And you shot him again, didn't you? Yes. After that, you returned to the toilet paper aisle, correct? Yes. This is a victim impact statement delivered by one of the victim's wives. You took our first date 20 years ago. Abram's fate was determined by the magistrate at this point. In count 1, I will sentence you to death. Death will be the penalty for count 2. In the 3rd offense, you will be sentenced to life in the penitentiary. Abram stood silently as he learned that he would be subjected to the death penalty. He is currently incarcerated on death row, where he awaits his execution. Number 1. Markeith Lloyd. Markeith Lloyd was found guilty of the homicide of a police officer in Orlando, Florida. He was already on the run from the authorities after killing his former girlfriend, who was pregnant with his child. Lloyd was observed at a Walmart 1 month later. He is visible as he enters. Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton pulled in a few moments later. You can observe her retrieve a cart and enter the establishment. It was reported that they encountered each other every few minutes outside the store. Lieutenant Clayton was alerted and attempted to apprehend Lloyd when a firefight ensued. Lieutenant Clayton died as a result of being fired 4 times during the interaction. Following the homicide, Lloyd fled once more, resulting in a 9-day manhunt that ultimately led to his capture. He attempted to flee during the arrest and sustained a concussion during the altercation. Lloyd testified in court, asserting that he was convinced that everyone was conspiring to assassinate him. I was merely responding. I continued to react even after the door was opened. Also, I was terminated. I merely responded. The verdict was rendered by the jury that convicted him. Lieutenant Clayton's sister is delivering a victim impact statement titled "It Hurts Deep Down." And this was the moment that Lloyd heard that the jury unanimously recommended the death sentence. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant Markeith Lloyd should be sentenced to death. Lloyd appeared to be uttering a statement to the public. Lloyd's outburst occurred a few moments later. All right, why don't we remove Mr. Lloyd from the courtroom? Later, the judge concurred with the jury's verdict and sentenced Lloyd to death. He is currently incarcerated, awaiting his execution. Did you like it? Tell us what you think of the video in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting videos.